Ladies and gentlemen, fight fans all around the world, we're talking some boxing. So, the last time I spoke with you guys, we talked about Terrence Crawford and his friend talking about for his behalf. Lots of updates since then. Okay, on Twitter, Terrence Crawford went on Twitter, started blasting Errol Spence particularly and other boxers out there. And he talked about he didn't duck or dodge anybody, to which people were saying, well, then fight Sean Porter. That leads us to what happened after that. He started going in on Errol Spence, talking about Errol Spence, will get knocked out by him and all these kind of crazy things that he would say. You know, a small guy talking to a bigger guy. He generally would trash talk like that. Like a small dog versus a big dog. Nonetheless, Errol Spence gave him a response. He said, hey, dude, fight not going to be made on Twitter like that. So, Terrence Crawford, he said, I'm going to call you. And he apparently called Errol Spence. Errol Spence talked to him. And the deal was done. And he said, Terrence Crawford is a cool dude. Definitely the fight will happen. So, Terrence Crawford is cool. And he's not really on Errol Spence right now. Now, from what Intangible Boxing said, he seems to be wanting to have a fight with some other guy who's not one of the top 10 welterweights right now, or one of the top 5 welterweights right now, for that matter. And let me just say this. Manny Pacquiao chimed in on this whole thing after the two guys kind of agreed, and he actually tagged both guys in one of his comments for one of his charity events, and then apparently, allegedly, I don't know, he also added them to his Twitter. Now, here's the interesting thing about this whole thing. Pacquiao looked like he wanted to smoke. And he's saying, both you guys, I think I want to face you guys. So whereas everybody's trying to protect Pacquiao, talk about, hey, she faced Mikey Garcia, who, by the way, is going to be facing Jesse Vargas, so he's occupied. I think that Manny Pacquiao is going towards the smoke. I told you guys that's what he needs to do. When we look at all the polls that we've done, I did polls on YouTube. That's what you guys wanted, the majority of you. When I did it on Facebook and other groups, that's what the majority of you wanted. Not a Terrence Crawford fight, but an Errol Spence fight, which I think could just make complete sense for a number of reasons. I'll give you a couple of them. Number one, Errol Spence is a unified champion. He is the WBC and IBF world champion. Manny Pacquiao is the WBA super champion. It makes sense to unify and get 3 belts instead of 1. Second point, they're both on PBC, so it's going to be a super easy fight to make. Errol Spence always calling out Pacquiao for the longest while. Terrence Crawford hasn't been doing that. So, guess what? That seems to be a fight that makes sense if Pacquiao wants Errol Spence. Point number 3. And this is the last point. Errol Spencer just came off an accident. That means he has to go back into getting back into shape for boxing. And we saw him say he's coming out to face his next opponent in May or June. And he said he don't want no tune-ups. That makes sense to me because Manny Pacquiao traditionally faces an opponent in April. So that makes good sense. Manny Pacquiao will have perfect rest. He can get into camp and then he can face his opponent. April's not that far from May and June, so somewhere along the line, both of their fights will overlap. That is perfect. And the last point I want to make, even though that one was the last point, is that Manny Pacquiao is still, at the age of 41, physically, he's still at the level where he can face those kinds of opponents. That's very important. See, because as a veteran, if you're not physically at that level where you can face those opponents, then it's not making sense to have those fights. So if this fight is made, that means that Manny Pacquiao and his team believe that not only can he win, but he's physically competent enough to be able to handle Errol Spence. Because we know he will have the ring smarts and all those other things as a veteran. So let's say that Errol Spence versus Manny Pacquiao is probably the possible outcome. It could be Terrence Crawford versus Manny Pacquiao, but it just looks kind of a little bit too difficult to do because you're dealing with a different promoter, with a different company, and then you have Al Heyman. Maybe that's the next fight for Terrence Crawford. Who knows? But I think it's more probable that Manny Pacquiao faces Errol Spence, which leaves Terrence Crawford to face, who I think the guy that he should face is the guy that doesn't have an opponent right now, which is Sean Porter. Kenny Porter's been calling for that fight, Terrence Crawford versus Sean Porter. I don't see why Terrence Crawford shouldn't face Sean Porter. I don't see why Sean Porter shouldn't face Terrence Crawford. If Sean Porter says he don't want a Terrence Crawford fight, that's dumb because that's a world title right there. And if Terrence Crawford don't want Sean Porter, that's equally dumb because Sean Porter just came off for Errol Spence in a close fight, and he should try and have a common opponent with Errol Spence to make for that mega fight. And Sean Porter is a name. He's one of the top 5 welterweights in the division. Sean Porter has a decorated resume, and he's been 2-time world champion. There's nobody else right now available that has that kind of qualifications. And on top of that, Sean Porter has been in a much better pay-per-view than Terrence Crawford has. And he also has higher average views that people viewed him in his fights than Terrence Crawford has. So there's a plus. Financially, it makes sense. for Sean Porter to face Terrence Crawford. I don't know if Bob Arum's down for that. He said he was down for it. The thing about it is Sean Porter, of course, being with a different brand, company, whatever, they have to work out the logistics. Maybe Sean Porter goes across to ESPN like Deontay Wilder did and face Terrence Crawford. I just think that makes a lot of sense. Terrence Crawford, obviously not the A side, but he's probably going to get favor because of that. Sean Porter, obviously, is a very, very good opponent for Terrence Crawford. I'm hearing Intangible Boxing talking about some Patrick guy from 154. I don't know who that is, but I do know who Sean Porter is, and it just makes so much sense in the world, boxing-wise and financial-wise, for Terrence Crawford to face Sean Porter. Maybe have it as a pay-per-view as well. That would get Terrence Crawford's numbers up, and definitely would do him well, because we know that's going to be a great fight. Okay? And for the WBO title, that would be a name that's solid. And he's available. So, I think Terrence Crawford should face Sean Porter next. And I think that Errol Spence, more than likely, is going to face Manny Pacquiao next. All the other guys are occupied. Mikey Garcia's got Jesse Vargas. Danny Garcia's got Ivan Redcock. And Kell Brook, he's mending up. And Manny Pacquiao will be facing Errol Spence. So that would leave only one guy available, which is Sean Porter. It was a great name. It's a great challenge. And they should put their friendship aside and just go ahead and do this thing. Because that's a great fight to happen. And I don't think Terrence Crawford is going to get Errol Spence next. I think Errol Spence is going to get Pacquiao. So the next best thing that's available is Sean Porter. So I think Terrence Crawford should face Sean Porter next. That's my thoughts on that. I want to hear you guys' view on it. Do you think that Manny Pacquiao should face Terrence Crawford? Should Manny Pacquiao face should Manny Pacquiao face Errol Spence or Terrence Crawford next? And also, what do you think of Terrence Crawford versus Sean Porter if Errol Spence gets Pacquiao? Leave your comments in the comment section below. I am what you need. You can always donate to my channel via Western Union or MoneyGram. Look forward to all donations. If you really want to donate to my channel, just leave the comments in the comment section below. Also, in addition to that, I want to just say thank you guys for a good 2019. Look forward to 2020. Good things happening out of this channel and so on. Keep yourselves locked in. We got more stuff for you guys. Yes, I haven't worked out the video stuff yet for video editing, so I can bring out some videos to show you guys what's going on, but we'll try and get that in 2020. On that note, I hope you guys have a good one. Peace. I'm out.